this presentation is called Why Budgeting Can Be Hard and How to Maybe Make Friends with Budgeting. And my usual disclaimer, and I should do an introduction. My name is Susan Bradford, and I am a social worker. I'm also the manager of education and training at CAC, but I am not a financial advisor, and I do not have the authority to dispense legal or financial advice. Rather, the trainings we have are for self-education, kind of a conversation that we can have together on financial health in families. So we have our introduction. We're going to talk about how do we feel about budgets. We're going to look at some of the pros and cons on budgeting, and how can we get ready to try again, along with some possible resources. So my question is, how do you feel about budgets? Now, some folks absolutely hate them. Not a fan, don't want to do it. It kind of is not their thing. Some folks may say, well, I've tried before, but I feel like it's too hard. Maybe they didn't feel successful. Maybe it just felt very overwhelming, kind of like pushing that boulder up a mountain. And other folks may absolutely love budgeting. So we have our gentleman here. He obviously is looking quite pained. And he's kind of representing how budgets can feel to many of us. It can feel limiting, maybe a little tedious. It could be scary, seeing those numbers on the page. Maybe the money coming in is a little less than maybe the money going out. It can feel embarrassing. It can be time-consuming and just not fun. And so these are some of the feelings that some people may feel about budgets. Let's look into some of these just a little bit more. Brad Klontz is a psychologist and financial planner. And he says, I think the entire concept of budgeting is flawed. Your emotional brain responds to the word budget the way it responds to the word diet. The connotation is deprivation, suffering, agony, and depression. So I said we were going to look at the pros and cons. We're certainly working with the cons right now. We're looking at how a lot of people feel about that budget word. Now let's talk about 6 reasons why budgeting can be hard. Sometimes it's because, number one, our idea of a budget is not realistic. Maybe we don't really have a good picture on the money that we're bringing in and the money that is going out. Number 2 is it may feel too complicated. You know, there are a lot of advertised websites and programs about budgeting and financial planning, and some of them can be really overwhelming. Number 3, we don't realize how much we spend. And I want to take a moment to talk about that, because I think that really happens to all of us. We don't realize how much we spend. One of the things I noticed, I was furloughed for 4 months at home because of COVID. And so I wasn't making an hour commute in and out of the city. And I realized that not only obviously saving on gas money was a change in my budget, but every time I would go to the convenience store or the gas station, I would end up buying a pack of gum or buying a cup of coffee or grabbing a snack for the ride. And all of those little things really started to add up, and I wasn't allocating for that in my budget. And so I didn't notice it until I wasn't spending it. Another reason why budgeting can be hard is that we don't give it enough time. Another reason why budgeting can be hard is that we're not writing it down. And that can be especially a problem if you are head of household and you're co-budgeting with another person, maybe a partner, or maybe you have a parent living with you, a grandparent to the kids, and you're combining your money and no one is writing the budget down. And the sixth reason is we're just not excited about it. I mean, nobody gets up on a Saturday morning and says, woohoo, now I get to sit down and write out my monthly budget. Maybe there are some of you out there that do that, but most of us mortals, it's just not our thing. So these are some of the 6 budgeting reasons, and I'm sure there are many more. Here's another one that I really wanted to discuss with you guys. Another reason why budgeting can be difficult is that social service agencies and workers have not always been understanding, respectful, or patient when working with clients on budgeting issues. And I know that many of you have case managers who are helping you. And hopefully these experiences, this is not your experience, but I know from my own experience that when you have to share your financial expenditures with people, sometimes people can value judge that. They're not understanding or respectful. And so we're trying to set up a program which workers are being understanding, respectful, and patient. But it's certainly a consideration when you're sitting down and contemplating doing a budget and working with someone outside of your family. What are some of the reasons you struggle with a budget? I know for me, those hidden costs were a big one for me. It's really important that we're honest about those things, really honest about what we're spending our money on, and not just kind of writing down what we think looks best on paper. Other people may have other reasons why they struggle with a budget. Maybe it's concerns about the level of income coming in. Maybe you're just kind of a more disorganized person, and sitting down and doing that just doesn't feel natural to you. So there are lots of reasons. I've been working on the budgeting for a few years now after taking classes here at CAC. So I'm really familiar with the program that we're going to be providing. I've used it myself, and it's giving me a chance to try again in my life. So we talked about pros and cons, and we talked about our kind of shifting our mental attitude. Some people find it helpful to change their mental models. And so instead of the word budget, which could be an obstacle to them, try thinking about it as a spending plan or money strategy. That sounds really good. Money strategy. Think of it as a savings plan or getting financially organized. The fanciest one is resource management, which actually kind of makes sense to me because, we have our resources coming into our household and we're managing them as they go out of our household. So for some people, if the word budget just sets up that obstacle, maybe you can try thinking about it and changing your mental model in a different way. For some of us, using logic and reason is a way to take a second chance on budgeting. Remembering that building our budgeting muscles is important, building those good new habits. So here are 10 good reasons to budget. We're using the logic here. Number 1, it gives you control over your money. One of the training classes I was in, the trainer told me something that really, really helped me overcome an obstacle. What she said was, every dollar coming into your household you own, it is your dollar. And you get to choose how you spend it. So that was very empowering for me. So it made me feel like I had some more control over my money. Keeping a budget helps keep you focused on your money goals, and it makes you more aware of what's going on with your money. Budgeting helps you organize your spending and your savings, and helps you decide in advance how your money will work for you. And that's a really good point for folks who sometimes feel like they're behind the ball financially. Being able to make some decisions for the future is a really big step. Budgeting helps you to save for expected and unexpected costs. And that could be a real issue for families on a fixed income who may not have that couple of $100 for that unexpected auto repair or something like that. Budgeting helps you to communicate with your significant others about money. And if you guys remember back to our class about our relationship with money, we remember that a lot of times money can be a #1 issue of conflict between certain couples. So having a budget kind of puts it in black and white. It requires you to sit down and talk with your partner about budgeting. And you have something kind of on paper then. It does provide you with an early warning for potential problems. So what that means is, at least to me what that means, is, for example, if you know that tax time is coming up and you have to pay your taxes on your house, property tax, and you know that's in the spring, if you're working on your budgeting, this gives you a chance to think about that ahead of time, and you know you're going to have to make that payment, so you can set things aside a little bit every month. That's how I interpret number 8. Number 9 helps you to determine if you can take debt and how much. And number 10 enables you to produce extra money. Now, that enables you to produce extra money, I was really kind of curious about what that meant. And I did some research, and it makes a ton of sense. So having a budget helps you to pay your bills on time. And I haven't necessarily accomplished this yet in my life. My bills get paid every month, but sometimes they're late. Sometimes I have to wait until the next paycheck, and then I'm paying a late fee on my bill. Or sometimes if we don't budget properly, we overdraft our account. And I know my bank charges a $35 overdraft fee. And if that happens multiple times, you can find yourself with a huge bill to your bank before you even get out of the month. So by having a budget, it helps us to keep that money in our pocket and not have to pay it out to others because of late fees or overdrafts. So maybe some of you are dreamers out there, and changing your mental model about changing the way you feel about budgeting, it helps to think, what's your budgeting roadmap? Which tools make sense to you? What's your plan? What's important to you? Do you dream about being able to pay off your car or take a vacation or whatever plans you have for yourself in your life? Some people may be motivated to try a budget again in order to accomplish these plans. So how do we get ready to try again? And so we see our archer here, and he has missed the mark many times, and hopefully this time we'll hit that mark. Like I said earlier, developing bad habits sometimes seem to happen so easily, but good habits sometimes take us many, many tries. So I have found that to be the case with budgeting. So the first thing you can do to improve your odds on succeeding in budgeting is to decide on your goals. Are you doing it to save more money? Are you doing it to reduce overspending on problem areas? Like maybe you have to watch how much you order out, Are you looking to end fights that you're having about money for couples? Are you trying to break the paycheck to paycheck cycle so hard? Are you trying to avoid spending you don't have and getting out of debt and staying on track towards your long-term financial goals? This is one of the things, to be successful in budgeting, you have to decide on what your goals are. Which one is right for you? Could be a combination of things. The second thing is to track your income and expenses. Track any money coming into your house. So you could do it in a notebook. You could go online and get a budgeting sheet. There are tons of them out there. Some of them are more complicated than others. I find the simplest ones are the best. And you include under income anything from wages, from work, alimony, any money you're making under the table. Because remember, this is a document for you, not for anyone else. You want to document how much you get on SNAP or WIC, because that certainly contributes to your budget for your groceries. You want to include child support and even that 20 bucks that your cousin borrowed and finally paid back. Under expenses, it's everything you spend. And that's both planned and unexpected expenses. Now, I want to encourage you not to forget the extras. So think about the holidays coming up. Think about, do you have any birthdays in this month that you're going to have to maybe get a card or a little gift for? Under annual car inspections and registrations, my car tags are always due in December, just about the time I'm trying to squirrel away a little money. So I try to keep that in my mind. We talked about property taxes. Do you owe any professional dues? Like, I don't know if for example, a licensed plumber, do you have to renew that license? Does it cost money to do that? Or the same thing if you're a dental technician or anything like that. And if you have a pet, there's always hidden expenses around pets. So don't forget to include those in your expenditures when you're thinking about your month. Track for 30 days. It's a way to save more money. It's a way to discover some overspending in problem areas. Like my husband and I discovered that he was using the debit card and would forget to hold on to the receipt. And I was trying to calculate how much was in the account. And I didn't realize, that he had spent $10, $15, which was fine. But when you're trying to kind of write down your budget, it left some holes in our budget. So we had to work on that together. So track for the full 30 days. Just kind of get a snapshot on what's coming in and what's going out. And don't forget to include things like cash advance loans or things like that. They can add up as well. Fewer than half of all Americans indicate that they have a somewhat good idea on what they spend. So figuring out where your money is going is really, really important. And we're talking about half of the American population doesn't know where their money goes. And it isn't half of the poor people in America, it's across the board. As a social worker, I have worked with folks who were very financially comfortable, but really had no idea where their money was going. And it's just a really good idea to have that 30-day track. Now, here are my references. There are a lot of articles out there about budgeting,